A man believed to hold Vietnamese nationality carried unusual behavioral tendencies, actively seeking someone who could bring his life to an end at the exact final moment while he performed a private act. On the other side, another man had a preference for carrying out that act. And among more than 8 billion people on this planet, they found each other.
Hello, and welcome back to Dark Crimes Real.
Before going any further, it is important to emphasize that everything presented in this video is only a compilation of information currently circulating publicly from analyses conducted by online communities and from the unofficial 88-page document compiled by independent investigative groups. Up to this point, there has been no official conclusion from any investigative authority regarding the identity of the person involved, the motive, or the level of involvement of any individual. This video does not attribute guilt, does not draw conclusions, and does not represent the findings of any official investigation. This video focuses solely on the online tracing process conducted by a group of Internet investigators, without delving into the original videos due to the severely deviant nature of the acts involved. All descriptions in this video have been adjusted to a safe level, using simplified wording as substitutes, without recreating or depicting any sensitive content in detail. The sole objective is to document the traces currently being analyzed, the community's tracing efforts, and the social impact caused by the incident. A reminder that every individual should remain cautious about information found on the Internet. Any misleading information that causes harm to individuals, groups, or society will be subject to legal responsibility. What has been happening in Vietnam in recent days that has stirred widespread public attention? This may be considered the most shocking crime-related incident of 2025 in the S-shaped country, if it is proven to be true. At the end of November 2025, an unofficial 88-page document spread across the Internet at a rapid pace. This document compiled all the data gathered by an independent investigative group in their analysis and search for the person believed to be behind a series of videos showing acts with signs of legal violations, extreme content involving a deceased individual that were leaked on July 26th. The case centers around the victim, Nguyen Xuan Đat, born in 1989, who had left his residence and been missing for nearly 10 years before data related to him suddenly appeared on social media in mid-2025. The leaked material suggests that Đat had actively sought a man to carry out a dangerous ritual, one involving self-destructive elements and severe psychological disturbances. The videos and images that surfaced did not show the full scene, but they were enough for the public to recognize that the incident went beyond a private matter. What stood out was that the content appeared intentionally recorded, in sequence, and seemingly planned in a structured manner, as if the two individuals had prepared in advance for the entire process. The incident was immediately compared to cases in Germany that once shocked the world, where voluntary self-sacrifice or extreme rituals with deviant elements had occurred. One notable example is the Armin Maiwes case, the most infamous voluntary self-sacrifice case in Germany in 2001. However, the case of Nguyen Xuan Đat surpassed these earlier incidents in complexity, because it not only involved actions between two individuals, but was also tied to a dynamic of dominant submission and a desire for absolute control within a deviant relational model. What made it even more distinctive was the online investigation launched by an independent group attempting to identify the perpetrator. This series of unusual events turned the case from a private file into a social phenomenon. When the 88-page document was leaked online, it became a phenomenon, sparking widespread discussion and prompting Vietnamese authorities to issue warnings about its harmful nature and to begin verifying the incident. In July 2025, a series of materials, including images and videos believed to be directly related to the incident, began leaking and spreading across private forums, especially on social media platforms. The origin of these videos came from private groups on Telegram that primarily operated in Chinese. It is unclear how many videos and images exist. All that is known is that the perpetrator placed the camera at multiple angles. However, there are three main videos: a rehearsal video filmed inside a local administrative office, a video showing the act leading to the victim's death, another video showing extreme actions in a kitchen area related to the victim, and especially a selfie of the perpetrator and the victim. It was this leaked selfie that pulled the figure behind the crime out of the shadows. Online investigators began enlarging every detail, comparing every unusual point to reconstruct the portrait of the man appearing in the frame, the person considered the suspect. Physically, he appeared to be a large-built man with thick arms and shoulders, with muscles visible like someone used to heavy labor or regular physical training. On his face, though mostly covered by a green mask, a type many users noted resembles military-issue masks, the key identifiable features were still visible. He appeared to be a middle-aged man with a high receding hairline, single eyelids, and eyes looking directly at the camera. A small scar on the left eyebrow was clearly visible, an identifying feature unlikely to be duplicated. More importantly, his right arm carried two prominent characteristics: a large dark birthmark running from the upper arm toward the armpit, resting on thick arm muscles, making it a highly distinctive biological marker. At the bicep, investigators noticed an additional detail: a tattooed inscription that, when zoomed in, could be read as "That Day, 13-9. What that number means remains unknown, but it immediately became an important piece of the identification file. As the videos and images related to the case spread, the wave of information hunting accelerated quickly, not only among Vietnamese users, but also among international users, including those from China. From the earliest clues, the independent investigation group traced a Facebook account under the name Nguyen Xuan Dat. Amid thousands of comments and speculations, a conversation describing an extreme, violent, dominant, submission-based agreement surfaced, making the situation appear even more serious. When earlier posts from this account were reviewed, people discovered that the victim had repeatedly expressed a desire to leave his life behind and had actively sought someone to carry that out for him. He did not simply want to disappear, but aimed for an extreme scenario he had envisioned for nearly 6 years. Online detectives then focused on the timeline. The last public status from this Facebook account appeared on June 10, 2025. Digital traces revealed that the victim participated in online groups for gay men. More concerning, beyond these groups, he also joined another community with a name and description suggesting extreme behaviors centered around liberating oneself through radical methods. His online friend list also contained multiple anonymous accounts with similar interests. Inside private forums, that did not use his real name. He appeared under chilling nicknames aligned with his unusual behavioral tendencies. One of the accounts was identified as having existed since 2019, showing that the search for a final scenario was not impulsive, but the result of years of accumulated desire. From older posts related to finding partners, investigators extracted 2 phone numbers believed to be linked to Dot, one ending in 20 and one ending in 89. To verify, several users used the Forgot Password function on Facebook. The system suggested sending a verification code to the number ending in 20, matching the number mentioned in earlier messages. This served as indirect evidence confirming the link between the account and the phone number. Tracing this number on the Zalo messaging platform brought up an account named Nguyen Xuan Đat with a listed birth date of May 10, 1989. The name, nickname, and birth date matched entirely with the Facebook information. From there, online investigators became nearly certain that the entire chain of accounts belonged to the same person, Nguyen Xuan Dat. Beyond personal traces, the scene inside the videos provided substantial data. In the video filmed indoors, the setting resembled a restroom or enclosed bathroom. Floor tiles, wall patterns, and a green wooden door were clearly identifiable. On a table, a La Vie bottled water, common in Vietnam, was spotted. This detail helped eliminate the theory that the victim was taken abroad, with investigators concluding it most likely occurred within Vietnam. Another notable object was a dishwashing liquid container with Chinese domestic labeling placed near the sink. These products are widely sold in northern border provinces where Chinese goods circulate heavily. From this, investigators were able to narrow the location to a northern border province of Vietnam. In contrast to the bathroom-like scene, the rehearsal video showed what appeared to be an office space. Visible in the frame were file cabinets, documents, desks, an old ceiling fan, and walls bearing the typical colors of a local administrative office. These details led many to conclude that this was not a private home, but a workplace or administrative facility, somewhere the suspect could access or had previously worked. Identifying the office environment in the rehearsal video became an additional geographic clue, forming two suspected locations that seemed to belong to the same institutional infrastructure. Returning to the selfie, this image became the cornerstone of the entire identification process. The image of the man selfied with the victim's remains not only showed a provocative attitude, but also provided complete biometric data. Overall, he was a middle-aged man with a large frame and solid physical condition suitable for carrying out forceful acts requiring strength and control. His receding hairline and single eyelids were prominent facial characteristics. Upon closer examination, investigators identified a large dark birthmark running from his right bicep toward the armpit, a rare feature with high identification value. In addition, the tattoo on his arm showing the characters "That Day 13-9" was later matched to the birth date of the son of a man named Duan An Sang. From there, online investigators began comparing these features with public images and personal records of Duan Van Sang. A round mark on the outer shin, a scar on the left eyebrow, the large birthmark on the arm, the "That Day 13-9" tattoo, body build, receding hairline, each was cross-referenced with everyday photos. The result showed a high degree of similarity, pushing the name Duan Van Sang into the center of suspicion. Thus, the selfie was not only an ethically disturbing act, but also a foundational data set for constructing a biometric identification profile. Facial structure, skin marks, personal tattoos, and family links. These details were later used as filters to search further across social media, matching similar names or photos, eventually pointing to a specific individual in Lang Sơn. Alongside image identification, the investigation drew from conversations in hidden chat rooms. In many chat logs related to the case, the name Trung repeatedly appeared, often referenced as the person behind the incident. Initially believed to just be an alias, this name emerged consistently in contexts directly tied to the agreement and preparation process, making it the next target in the digital manhunt. From an account associated with the name Kam Tong Trung, the perpetrator sent out a specific address, 81 Chi Long Street, Lang Son City. Revealing such a detailed address in a border area at a time when public pressure was mounting was considered a serious strategic mistake. This address instantly became a focal point to cross-check with the background and former workplace of Duan Van Sang, who was believed to have close ties to the region. According to circulating documents, Dat was believed to have died around late January 2025. A January 25, 2025 status read, "Still 3 hours left until it happens." However, on June 10, 2025, nearly 5 months later, his Facebook account unexpectedly posted a new status. The fact that an account belonging to someone presumed dead remained active was a clear contradiction. Analysts proposed that someone had taken control of Dat's phone and login access, continuing to post to create the illusion that he was still alive, thereby delaying the investigation and confusing the traceback process. As the videos and images went viral beginning in July 2025, public pressure around the case intensified. In early August 2025, Dat's account was permanently locked. The sudden deletion of the account right in the peak of public scrutiny led many to believe that the person controlling it recognized the risk of being discovered and decided to eliminate an important source of evidence. At the same time, online investigators identified a network of anonymous accounts operating across various platforms, using nicknames such as Con Trung 1111, Tan Trung 424, and others. Although the names differed, these accounts interacted within the same circle and linked back to a main account titled Duan Song ZML. From there, overlapping data points emerged, matching names, matching birth dates, shared activity region in Lang Sơn, and shared online social connections. Beyond surface-level traces, a deeper layer of evidence appeared at the device level. Through comparison, investigators discovered that several important emails connected to the case, including the real-name email of Doan Wan Song, the anonymous emails associated with the nicknames, and the emails linked to the victim's phone number, had all been verified or recovered using the same mobile device. That device was identified as an Oppo Reno 12 5G. The fact that 3 groups of accounts, the suspect's main account, his anonymous accounts, and the victim's linked account all showed traces on a single device made coincidence nearly impossible. This implied that Duan Wan Song, or someone extremely close to him, had possessed both the device and the data of Dat after the incident, using the same phone to operate the anonymous accounts. The name Tan Trung in the anonymous account chain added another layer of connection. This name matched the name of Duan Wan Song's son, whose birth date also matched the tattoo on the suspect's arm in the self-EFI. This alignment between tattoo, alias, and family records helped make the link between the anonymous accounts and the real identity even clearer. As online pressure intensified, the social media activity believed to come from Duan Wan Song and his son further strengthened the suspicion. Instead of remaining silent, these accounts sometimes reacted aggressively, provocatively, or even made indirect hints or self-incriminating statements in response to public scrutiny. Such posts, whether out of anger or defiance, accidentally reinforced the theory that the individuals behind these accounts were under direct pressure from the investigation, making it unlikely they were uninvolved outsiders. A series of biological markers from the selfie, eyebrow scar, arm birthmark, body build, receding hairline, and tattoo, combined with personal information, device data, the address at 81 Shillong, family connections, and social media reactions, formed a multi-layered evidence structure. These details helped shift the investigation from purely image-based speculation toward a near biometric, identity-based conclusion. Finally, comparing the building seen in the videos with public photos of a local administrative office structures in Lang Sơn led investigators to form a dual location hypothesis. One site, believed to be an old facility of a market management unit, had white-blue floor tiles and a dark green wooden door, matching the bathroom-like setting. The other site, with red brick-coated pillars, sunshade slats, and tall courtyard trees, matched architecture typical of older local administrative offices and was believed to be where the rehearsal was filmed. The parallel existence of these two spaces suggested that the perpetrator had access to or deep familiarity with old local administrative office facilities, using them as locations to prepare and carry out illegal actions discreetly. When all pieces of evidence were combined, physical details, device data, account history, architectural context, and social media behavior, a composite criminal profile emerged. a person with dangerous deviance, organizational tendencies, long-term planning, and the ability to use physical spaces and digital tools to conceal traces for an extended period. The cumulative data set transformed the case from an individual tragedy into a broader warning about a type of offender who operates simultaneously in the real world and online, capable of hiding in plain sight within everyday society for years before finally being exposed. As the documents and videos began appearing more widely across the internet, the case immediately expanded beyond the scope of independent online investigators. The information was spreading too quickly, the severity far exceeded that of an ordinary missing person case, and the details involving human identity forced authorities to take notice. In their initial statements, the police confirmed that they had received the information and had deployed professional investigative measures to verify the authenticity of the materials being circulated. Investigators did not immediately respond regarding the nature of the incident. Instead, they focused on two primary tasks: verifying the identity of the individual shown in the videos and assessing whether the images were connected to a criminal act that occurred within the territory of Vietnam. In the early stages, authorities described the situation as under evaluation, avoiding any conclusions without sufficient evidence. In the relevant locality, officials quickly conducted a population review. Based on the mother's testimony, investigators recorded that had left home many years earlier and had not made contact since. On the night of November 30th, authorities erected barriers and blocked the entrance to Market Management Station Number 4. According to some unverified online sources, there were claims that Mr. Duan Van Sang, former Deputy Chief of Market Management Team Number 4 of the Lang Sơn Market Management Department, who had voluntarily retired in March 2025 under the administrative streamlining policy, was invited to work with authorities for verification purposes. However, as of now, no official statement from the press or investigative agencies has confirmed this information. The case quickly became one of the most publicly pressured and rapidly spreading incidents on social media. Up to this point, the case remains under investigation, and no official conclusions have been announced. Therefore, while awaiting the findings of the authorities, we should not accuse or attack any individual involved. Throughout the process of verification and online tracing, many specialists in behavioral psychology, criminology, and mental health pointed out several abnormal elements in the case. It was not only because of the extreme nature of the videos, but also because of the way the two individuals found each other and agreed to carry out acts far outside the boundaries of conventional understanding. Although no official conclusions have been released by investigative authorities, multiple indicators suggest that this incident bears characteristics of a rare form of psychological deviation previously documented in several cases worldwide. The case of Nguyen Xuan Dat resembles a group of uncommon disorders in which the perception of pain and self-destruction becomes intertwined with distorted forms of pleasure. In international literature, this behavioral cluster is often associated with extreme variants of paraphilia, deviations in which physical sensations are shaped by elements of pain, submission, or self-obliteration. Not all paraphilias lead to criminal acts, but when combined with prolonged isolation, psychological instability, and access to closed online communities, the level of danger can escalate abruptly. On the opposite side, traces found in the videos show that the individual believed to be the perpetrator displayed behaviors commonly associated with domination and control, turning acts of violence into a repeated ritual. In previously studied cases, such behavioral patterns fall within disorders linked to the need for dominance in intimate dynamics, where the individual seeks absolute control over another person, far beyond the boundaries of ordinary interpersonal behavior. When this factor merges with detachment from social norms and long-term exposure to extreme content, the level of danger can escalate abruptly. However, the most striking aspect is not only the motive of each individual, but the intersection of two coexisting deviations. One person had the desire to be ended within a ritualized framework, the other showed willingness to carry it out. The convergence of these two highly uncommon psychological models is what makes the incident so unusual, drawing attention not only in Vietnam, but also from specialized communities abroad. Experts also emphasize that the case cannot be separated from the influence of the online environment. Over the past decade, studies have shown that online communities, especially closed forums, can amplify dangerous tendencies. When a psychologically vulnerable individual encounters extreme content without any regulatory structure, the boundary between reality and virtual space becomes dangerously blurred. Therefore, any preliminary assessment of this incident, based on the data currently being analyzed, suggests that this is not merely a criminal matter. It reflects an exceptionally rare psychological deviation, a hazardous relational structure formed within the online environment, and a sequence of behaviors prepared over an extended period, revealing a level of complexity far beyond that of typical violent cases. Although all current analyses remain provisional until official conclusions are released, most experts agree that this case demonstrates the fragile boundary between psychological instability, the influence of cyberspace, and the potential for such conditions to escalate into acts with severe consequences. The incident raises major questions about how to identify risks, how online communities should be monitored, and how behavioral structures among a small portion of Internet users are changing in the digital age. When the documents and videos leaked in July 2025, the Vietnamese public experienced an unprecedented shock. It was not only because of the disturbing nature of the visuals, but because of the way the materials spread, rapidly and widely, and without any official verification in the early stages. Within a few days, what began as vague online chatter became a topic discussed everywhere, triggering intense debates about ethics, legality, and the safety of the online environment. This phenomenon reflects a troubling reality. With just a few leaked files, the online community can transform itself into a massive analytical machine, creating positive pressure that pushes authorities to intervene while simultaneously carrying the risk of spreading unverified and misleading information. Especially when a case involves sensitive elements, crowd psychology can create a spiral effect, pulling many people into harmful content they never expected to encounter. From a social perspective, this incident serves as a clear warning about the risks of the digital environment. Closed communities, where users can easily remain anonymous and share abnormal psychological patterns, may become meeting points for individuals carrying psychological instability. Not everyone in those spaces intends to commit a crime, but the mutual reinforcement within an unregulated environment can quickly distort moral boundaries. The case also raises concerns about how young people access information. A portion of users, driven by curiosity, actively sought out details, placing themselves at risk of encountering inappropriate content without recognizing its long-term psychological danger. Many professional organizations have warned about the phenomenon of emotional desensitization caused by repeated exposure to extreme content, which gradually weakens a person's healthy emotional response to violence. This risk becomes particularly severe when content spreads as rapidly as it did in this case. In this context, the most important message does not lie in the details of the incident, but in how we consume information online. The leaked images are not only evidence of a potential criminal act, they are also proof of how harmful the spread of unverified content can be. Anyone who shares, searches for, or replicates sensitive files may face both legal consequences and psychological harm. This case serves as a major lesson in protecting oneself from harmful information. Not everything that appears online should be viewed, and not all content should be amplified. For many people, curiosity only pulls them closer to images that are difficult to control and may leave a long-lasting psychological impact. What is needed now is caution, approaching online information responsibly, avoiding the search or distribution of content that may cause harm to oneself or the community. As authorities continue their investigation and have not released any official conclusions, maintaining a safe distance from circulating information is crucial. This incident will be remembered for a long time, not only because of its nature, but because of the societal impact it created. A clear reminder that the digital world is not harmless, and that caution is sometimes the only shield between us and the darker corners of the Internet. Nevertheless, the commendable efforts of the investigation group contributed to bringing the incident to light. Without them, the case might have remained in the shadows, with the perpetrator continuing to live freely in society. At present, the case is under investigation, and any new information or official conclusions will be updated in future videos. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.